In this week's episode, we'll be talking about the need to have motion behind everything. Before we get to that, Kyra, how's it going this week?
It's going beyond amazing. I'm literally having the best week of my entire life. How are you?
That's that's pretty uplifting to hear. I assume it's because of that dance thing you were talking about earlier, or is it because of something else?
It's a medley of things, but the dance thing is the biggest.
Awesome. Cool. My work is all right. My life, there you go, Freudian slip. My life lately has been very work heavy. It's just been busy at work, but that's good, and it's very new opportunities. I tell you, it always comes back to emotion, because it's like the other day, the internet went out at our office, and that's the moment when you're going to see everyone's level of emotional reactivity. Some people are going to be like, oh man, come on, I can't get anything done now. Whereas some other people are going to be a little bit more zen and, say, well, that's out of my control. So I'm just going to work on whatever projects I can do without the internet. You see what I mean? And so even with tasks or settings that you don't think are, psychology or, sort of related to emotion actually underlies every single human experience. And so that's kind of a segue, I guess, into today's topic. But I'll let you introduce the topic formally and tell us how you came up with this this topic for today.
Okay. So I love that you're, work heavy right now, just the cycle. And the second thing, well, I've really been thinking about sex lately, and I've really been thinking about affirmations lately. And I feel like okay. So the topic is about there has to be emotion behind something, or it's 100% completely unfulfilling. And I remember there was this guy that I was having sex with, and great sex and everything, but there was like, I'm talking like zero ounce of connection, 0 ounce of emotion, zero. Like when I say zero, like I mean zero. And so I would rarely hang out with him because though the sex was good, it's emotionless. And it's like did I just fuck an empty body? What what just went on here? So it was no emotion, right? And then I realized that I remember when I used to wake up and like I used to say my affirmations, like I used to be like, I am powerful, I am strong, I am witty, but who am I really speaking to in that sense? I think that you're not really saying it with any emotion, and you're kind of just like saying it, which is cool because that can be a beginner to like the real affirmations. But like the real affirmations, it could sound more like I am powerful, I am strong, I am witty. There are so many different ways that you can say your affirmations to where the energy that you feel from those affirmations will actually come up. And as you say it, your brain will search for those things, so it's so much better to be emotionally involved in, such important tasks such as, sex and affirmations. For me, those are two very important things that I think emotion and focus and concentration should be involved. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that as we do things, maybe the first time we do something, there's a lot of emotion there. And as we do something and we kind of just fall into the routine and the habit of doing something, um, it's almost like we just kind of go on autopilot, and our emotions kind of, or our minds drift somewhere else. Same thing has happened to me with hockey. Beginning of the hockey season might be like there's so much emotion, you're excited to play. Maybe you have a couple new team members, but as the season goes on, and you get into game 6, 7, 8, then you're kind of like, all right, gotta go to hockey again, and it's like it almost becomes a drag versus that game one where it's like, all right, like the season's starting, and it's a very different experience. So as you were talking, that's kind of what I was thinking about. It's just how the experience is very, very different when there's emotion behind it, when there's emotion involved. Um, with affirmations, if you just are reading the same thing every day and it gets a little bit routine, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing the routine, but you're not having that emotion behind it, it's going to be very different, you know. And same with sex, I imagine, with like I'm just guessing here because I've never been married, but maybe with married couples that have um, been together for a long time. uh I mean, I imagine like it's got to get repetitive at some point, and you're going to have to bring emotion back into it if it's not there. um so yeah, I can see all those points.
I definitely agree. So I feel like the way that I was thinking about it in my head as you were speaking was I kind of broke it into like two categories. Like there's the emotion behind things where it's like kind of like the elongated one, like it's like, oh, I got a new job. I'm so excited to go into work. My first hangover comes and I'm like, at work, but it's like I think that so those are the elongated ones, kind of like the hockey practice or the job or a new class or a new course that you're taking. And I feel like the emotion dies down when your expectations start dying down, and it's like, well, I kind of expected this thing to make me really happy and it's not. And now I'm just kind of bummed out. And I think at that point you should ask yourself what you're expecting or what you were expecting. Ask yourself, why you're not getting that. And then, go easy on yourself, because expectations can fucking suck. Like, when you expected something to be so nice, but it's like sometimes you just got to let shit flow and just let it flow. Okay. And then the second part, so that's like the elongated category. And then the shorter category, I think, would be more put into affirmations, because I feel like with affirmations and sex, I feel like it's not something that you go emotionless after time. I think it's something that if you're having sex with a partner who doesn't have much emotion and you guys start having like emotionless sex, so you think, oh, maybe like I need a new partner. No, you don't need a new partner. You need to fucking connect with each other. You need to have emotion behind sex. You're wondering why your sex isn't good. You're wondering why your sex isn't fucking explosive. It's because you're not letting yourself feel. And when you're not letting yourself feel fully, you're going to be, blocked off from certain pleasures of sex. So you need to, open that emotion, feel safe to open that emotion, trust that the partner that you are with, trust that your awesome self wouldn't bring about a fuck boy or a fuck girl, in the other terms. But yeah, trust that. And then with affirmations, it's more like it's like that voice in your head, that's always talking. And that voice in your head, it comes out in your voice. So it's not like your voice isn't there. Like we have two voices. Like we have the voice in our heads and we have the voice outside in the physical, but they sound the exact same and they both hold a lot of power. So when you're listening to that voice in your head and you're saying your affirmations, you're repeating your affirmations, you know, get that emotion. Get that emotion in there. All right, you go.
You covered a lot of points. One of the questions I have, to come back to your example that you shared at the beginning of the emotionless sex, yet you also stated good sex with that guy. Like, how can you explain how it was good on the one hand, but then also it was lacking in some other dimension?
Well, he was he liked to take what he wanted, and I find that very sexy in a man. So he, you know, was dominant, and he talked a lot, but like he didn't like talk at me. I don't know, like he talked like with me. So it was like it was enjoyable, you know. He has sex really good, you know, really
He
good. But
talked. You're saying he talked during sex?
yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, and like I thought that was nice with him. You know, he had a nice body. He was attractive to look at, but he was very boring to me. Extremely boring. Our chemistry was like on level 0. So there was absolutely no emotion during the sex. So it was like, yeah, it was great, great sex, but there's no emotion, which to me makes it completely useless.
So why do you think there was no emotion there?
He was a Taurus.
There we go. There's the reason.
I'm so serious. I do not get along with Taurus men. Like we just do not have chemistry. But
You're not kidding. You're for real about that, huh?
yeah, I actually am. But it also could have been, you know, other aspects. I just maybe he was just not my guy. You know, just not my guy. But it's very rare that men who are not my guy don't have emotion during sex, you know? So it's like it's interesting.
So if you were to think about a different situation or a different guy, where there was that connection or that chemistry, you're saying the emotion, where it was there, like what was the reason why it was there in that situation?
I think because the other person was willing. I'm a pretty willing person. So I'll go in willing if the vibe is right, you know. If it's not, you know, then I start to go like unwilling. But I feel like the other guy was just like not willing. He was just like, nope, like I'm not willing to open up any emotion to this girl. Absolutely not willing. But the other guy, you know, he was like, I'm totally willing. Like, let's do this. You know, and I'm like, woo! So
Willing to what, like experiment, or willing to, I think you said open emotionally?
willing to open emotionally and connect. Yeah. Like willing to feel the other person instead of like numbly fucking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Man, that, I feel like that could be a whole episode unto itself.
Yeah,
But
right?
interesting. Do you notice different patterns where certain, well, I guess it'd be hard. There's probably no different patterns. I was going to say something like, do you notice like older guys having a more, like being more, I guess, like emotionless or more emotional or whatever? Do you see certain patterns? I guess the pattern that you see is the uh, astrological sign, right? The Tauruses are the ones that don't have that emotional connection with you.
So, it's not that I always look for the astrological side. It just so happened that he was a Taurus, and I just like felt like an immediate like buzzkill, like
Mm.
just I, I don't know. But about like older men, I have noticed that older men are a lot more endearing, a lot sweeter, um, a lot more like I am going to take care of you than younger men. But you know, I guess that's just because like they've been through that, you know. Um, but to get back more on the topic of emotion, I mean, explain what you meant in the beginning when you said um, emotion is kind of like the underlying thing for like what we do in our everyday, or you said something along those lines. And what exactly did you mean? Can you explain it, please?
Yeah, that even when like psychology is not um it's not just this one field that you deal with sometimes. Psychology is psychology underlies like every single moment and every single experience. So exactly like we're talking about, if you're having sex, it's not just like a reproductive or biological act. There's also psychology behind it, which we're discussing today. Um, Similarly, there's um, in sports, it's not just about, oh, who can put the ball in the basket. Um, it's it's actually about the psychology. Well, underlying that, of course, the invisible part uh, is the psychology, because before the guy shoots the ball towards the basket, in his mind is an image and a feeling of either this ball is going in the basket, or wow, I hope I don't miss in front of the crowd, and a feeling of like fear, right? And so there's psychology behind it, and the psychology is the precursor almost, I feel like, to every experience. And so, but it's the invisible part. It's almost like the the scene is about to take place, and like the actors are on the stage, and life is about to happen, but the last 5 minutes things have been going on behind stage, and that's like the mind. And but people don't realize that, yeah, because it's so invisible even to the own actors themselves. They're sometimes oblivious to kind of like where their mind is, like where is their mind located right now. Are their chakras open, so to speak? How is their energy flowing, right? Like the guy that you were saying, had like very emotionless sex or something. Like, I wonder maybe if it's something. Well, the light's really like getting falling on my face that way. Um, maybe he's just was lacking some own awareness. Like the question in my mind is like, why was he not aware of his own openness? Or was he doing that? Was he closing himself off intentionally? Was he being unwilling uh, on purpose? Or was he just totally like just not aware of his own willingness or lack of willingness? uh, you see what I mean? Like, was he just not even aware of it? um, but I feel like it's always there. Like the psychology is always there, and we have to become aware of it a lot more. um, every single like I observe, like right now, a lot of my day is I'm regularly checking in on, like, okay, how is the energy flowing right now? Where are there um, where are there energy blocks? Where are there clogs in the system where it's not flowing? Where do I have these concerns? Where do I have these micro tensions of something happened and I didn't like what happened? I didn't like what someone said, or I didn't like the way that this project went, or whatever. Um, and these like little tensions, like little, like how a rope gets like knotted up or something with time. It's like I'm observing this whole system and seeing like, okay, where's it getting knotted up? Where does it need to be opened more? Where does it need to be loosened? But it's all invisible. And the best that we've come up with until this point is to say like, oh, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way. And we come up with this vocabulary that like barely scratches the surface. But I feel like there's so much more underneath. Like, you know what, do you follow me so far?
Yeah, I'm definitely following you. And I think it's definitely I think it's really funny that you said about we come up with like a vocabulary and just kind of scratches the surface, but like if we actually, thought about why we do things and like what we're moving towards and bring that more to our awareness, then, the more you're aware of it. And something that's been going on in my head a lot lately is that if it's there, you can see it. If it's not there, you can't see it. Right. And I think that that's so true because it's like you can see, when somebody is using you, right? You can see when somebody's using you for sex, for money, for I don't know, whatever. Just you can see that. It's there. It's there. You can see it, right? And if you can't see in somebody, if you have a new friend and you can't see any respect that they have for you, it's not there. It's not there. So you need to be aware of something. If you're not aware of something, it doesn't exist. If you are aware of something, then it exists. If you're aware of this right here, it exists. If you're aware that there's a slight breeze in the room, boom, it now exists. It's like when somebody's been in a daze, right? And you're talking to them and you're like snapping and you're like, dude, and they're like, oh, what? You're like, I was just talking to you for like 5 minutes. All right, well, you didn't exist at that moment. At that moment, you did not exist to this person because this person was not aware. This person was aware of only what was going on in their mind, and this person cannot be aware of anything else, which means that it does not exist in their mind at that specific moment. So I also think that it's really interesting that we're talking about. I feel like we've been talking a lot about like emotion and like affirmation lately. Um, and I think that it's really interesting that this, beautiful idea came into my head to have an ecstatic dance because it's specifically for moving emotions through your body and opening pathways, channels for energy to flow and release so you can become your highest self and manifest at the same time. So I find it really interesting. I think that the world in general right now needs some help with their emotions. They need help managing their emotions, or they need help on how to actually feel and be okay with feeling. They need to know what they're feeling. You can't just feel something and put an emotion to it. You need to feel something, really understand what you're feeling, and then you can put an emotion to it. It's like when people are, really, really nervous and they're like, oh my God, I'm nervous because they have like butterflies in their stomach or they have pins and needles, well, maybe you're not nervous. Maybe you're just really fucking excited, switch up the labels to your feelings and then see how you start to feel, because maybe that'll help you be more okay with feeling during sex, being more okay with letting your emotions flow through you as you state your affirmations with conviction,
Totally. Totally. Yeah, I had a few ideas as you were talking there. Since we got about 5 minutes left, we should do our closing thoughts for
Okay.
the day. So one thing I was thinking about as you were talking is, or that I was reminded of is uh, childhood. And earlier you mentioned, you said you were talking about expectations and having expectations going into something, and maybe that maybe that's related to emotion somehow. But what I know about, or what I think about when I reflect on my childhood is it's just the difference. So here's you're born, and then you're like a fully grown adult, like age 25 or higher, which is when the brain is fully developed. So during this whole time, from age 0 to 25, your brain is progressively like not growing in size, but like growing in complexity, like neuronal connections. Like it's becoming more advanced, right? Obviously, as a newborn baby doesn't know how to speak, doesn't know how to do math, doesn't know how to like delay gratification, all of these things. But as you know, and can't conceive of like abstract concepts like justice and peace and things like that, right? But as the person develops and as their brain, I wonder what sort of shift there is from like just 100% experience of the world with no expectations. Like a newborn baby's not like, oh, I hope they don't give me that crappy food again, like they did yesterday, or like this. They're just like, oh, what is this? Like this food, I've never tasted this food before, and then they just taste it. But so they have like zero expectations. But what I see more and more is how people become jaded as they get older, and then just like negative. uh Even myself, I observe it happening in some situations where it's like, you've worked a job for 40 years or whatever, and you're just kind of negative about the job. Or um I've as I've been encountering, maybe like so there's some girls in their 30s, not all of them, of course, some that are just very jaded, and very sort of like tired of the dating scene, and just very negative, and just like, and I have plenty of examples that I won't share right now, but just, things like, oh, don't talk to me if this, if this, if this, if that, if that, if that, you know, don't waste my time. I don't want it, blah, blah, blah. That's the common phrase now. If you don't have this, I don't want it. Just like very, very negative. And also, yeah, but anyways, that's the tangent. But what I'm saying is like, as the developmental process goes on, like I'm thinking the experience of life is different because the brain just gets more and more powerful. It's like putting a huge engine into a car. It's like swapping out the engine and giving it a way more powerful engine. That's like the adult brain is like a powerful engine, but it's like it has to be, you have to know when to drive it, when to put it in neutral, when to turn it off. Because to me, the modern day human being is basically a lot of drivers that don't know how to control this powerful engine. And so they're sitting at red lights, just like revving the engine, not going anywhere, or they're getting into crashes here and there because they're out of touch with it. I like my car analogies. All right, that's all I got. I'll pass it to you.
That was really good. I liked that a lot. I think that the ending sentence really just tied it all together. You're just like, it's a great fucking engine, but you don't know how to use it, so you're just sitting there at the red light revving up the engine. God, that is so funny. But uh yeah, I completely agree. Our brains are like little seeds, like legit, like little seeds that start out as nothing, and then as they grow older, the seed becomes encrypted with patterns and little things that pop out, and it becomes so much more intricate, and it branches off into so many different areas. And you know as usual, they don't teach us about emotions and stuff in school. So I feel like one of the biggest problems that we have today is dealing with emotion, and understanding that like emotions are just emotions and they're not necessarily yours, and they could just be links that you've made with certain happenings over the span of your life. And it's, if you want a better life, then it's time to fix those situations that you have specific expectancy theory, like autopilot you automatically feel something when a certain event happens because it's on your autopilot. It's your expectancy theory. But if you just sit there, for a moment and you think about it and you understand the emotions that are going through you, and you can maybe do like a little check, like, is this really what I'm feeling, or is this just on autopilot, or what am I feeling and why? I think that we just all need to get more in touch with our emotions to have better sex, to have a better connection with ourselves, and to live overall like just a more self-controlled life. And self-control is a really good feeling. So yeah.
I couldn't have summarized it better.
Yay.
So perfect. I think we did it for today. If anybody wants to be in touch with us, recommend future episodes, put that in the comments. And Kyra, what's your Instagram again?
My Instagram is at Soul Designed Future. You can catch me there.
Great. And mine is at Existence First, all one word, lowercase, Existence First. All right. We'll see you all in next week's episode.